Hey beautiful, have you considered subscribing to our channel? Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers.
Smoke rose in black ribbons across the horizon, twisting into the blood-red sky like the fingers of the dead trying to claw their way out of the ruined earth. The world had fallen silent. No traffic, no chatter, no bird song, just the distant crack of plasma and the occasional deep-throated hum of an alien atmospheric engine echoing over shattered cityscapes. Major Cole Stroud squinted against the glare of the fires below as his S6M little bird banked hard left, rotors slicing the dusk like a blade. He could feel the familiar thrum in his bones, the strain in the cyclic, the subtle resistance of the wind that told him another storm front was on the way. Or maybe it was just more Grawl deploying. Killer 1 to Killer Team visual on objective. Grid Lima 7 confirmed. Move to stealth entry, Cole said into the mic, his voice dry, clipped, and steady. One by one voices chimed in over the secure net. Killer 2 in trail. Copy. Killer 3 locked on and low. Killer 4, damn bugs won't see us coming. He smiled at that last one. Sergeant Jake Ramirez, the squad's demolitions expert, never passed up a chance to spit in the face of doom. Figuratively or otherwise. They flew in tight formation, just meters above the skeletal remains of what had once been Atlanta's outskirts. Towering buildings stood hollowed out and caved in. Highways curled upward in cracked and twisted arcs. The Grawl had raised it all within the first 48 hours, vaporizing any organized resistance with orbital lances and then deploying their ground swarms, chitinous horrors with skittering limbs and pulsating weapon sacks. But the killer eggs had survived. Not by being stronger but by being smarter. Quieter. Meaner. Cole's AH-6 was stripped down for speed and lethality. The stubby rotors gave it the nickname Killer Egg. It didn't look like much, but it was a murder machine in the hands of someone who could dance with death. And Cole had been doing the waltz since Mogadishu. In the co-pilot seat next to him, Chief Warrant Officer Travis Harlan ran a final diagnostics check on the fire control systems. We've got 6 Hellfires and full minigun capacity. All systems green. Good, Cole replied. I want a clean strike. No collateral, no second pass. Below them, nestled in the jagged concrete of an old train station, was the Grawl sensor node, a bulbous, organic structure pulsing with eerie blue light. It looked like something that had been grown, not built, its surface writhing with thin metallic filaments that twitched like antennae. The team had been tasked with destroying it before nightfall. Intel suggested the node was part of a larger network, Grawl Communications Hive-controlled. Take it out and local enemy units would go dark. No guidance. No reinforcement. Just bugs in the dark, flailing. But this wasn't just any op. This was personal. Cole glanced at a faded patch stitched onto the inside of his cockpit. 160th SOAR Night Stalkers. Beneath it, another, gray half-burnt with 6 names scribbled in Sharpie. All dead. Men from his last squad, vaporized during a failed evac run in Texas. He had walked out of that burning wreckage with a dislocated shoulder and a mouth full of blood. And a promise he would never leave another man behind. 2 minutes to strike zone, he called. Weapons tight. Follow my lead. Warrant Officer Nathan Linwood's voice crackled over the comms. Copy, Major. Are we expecting resistance? Always, Cole said. The Grawl didn't sleep. They didn't retreat. They didn't fear. And worst of all, they adapted. Every engagement brought new tactics, new horrors. What worked yesterday might fail today. The flight path took them along the curve of a collapsed bridge, then under the overhang of a shattered hospital wing. Cole's AH-6 weaved through with inches to spare. This was their advantage, speed, terrain, and guts. Suddenly, a flare of movement on his HUD. Contact. Multiple hostiles, north rooftop, 12 o'clock high. They erupted from the shadows like demonic locusts. Grawl interceptors, small winged drones shaped like skeletal bats, their undersides studded with plasma repeaters. Dozens of them. Break and scatter. Cole barked. The killer eggs peeled off, each dropping elevation, skimming the ruins. Miniguns roared, sending waves of lead into the sky. One Grawl drone exploded in a shower of acid mist that corroded a nearby window frame. Travis cursed as a near miss scorched their tail rotor, but Cole held the line. Killer 4, flank left, he yelled. Jake Ramirez's bird surged upward, arcing over a busted highway sign, and unleashed a barrage of rockets into the rooftop. Concrete disintegrated. A second later, an interceptor slammed into the ground behind them, flailing in death spasms. Killer 3's clear. Nathan called out. Got one on my 6, looping it. Cole spun the little bird sideways and looped around to cover him, unleashing a stream of 7.62mm rounds that lit up the dusk like tracer fire from hell. The drone shattered midair, shards bouncing off Linwood's fuselage. "Thanks, sir," Nathan said, breathless. "That thing was chewing paint." "Buy me a beer if we make it back," Cole replied. With the airspace cleared and the node in view, they reformed. The sensor spike loomed ahead, now fully glowing, reacting to their presence. Spindly defense towers unfolded like insect legs around it, belching plasma in random bursts. "Hit it before those cannons spool up," Travis barked. Cole angled down, locked the crosshairs and fired. 2 Hellfires streaked forward, trailing smoke. The impact cracked the node's carapace, sending out a ripple of bioluminescent energy. Nathan and Jake followed up, pounding the structure until it bled molten ichor and collapsed into itself. "Direct hit. Node is down," Travis confirmed. Then the ground shook. From the subway tunnel beneath the wreckage, something massive stirred. A shape emerged, 8 feet tall, armored in black plates with a jagged underbite like a buzzsaw. A Grawl heavy unit. "Contact on ground. Brute class," Cole shouted. "Pull out, no air support if this gets worse." "I've got the payload," Jake said. "Let me dance with him." Ramirez, no. But the comms cut. Killer 4 Dove, skimming the ground, then dumped its remaining munitions directly on the advancing brute. Explosions cascaded up its body, until one found a weak spot behind the head. The beast went down in a screech of shattered armor. Jake's AH-6 wasn't so lucky. Plasma fire caught it on the retreat. The tail ignited. The bird spun, hit a billboard, and exploded in a gout of flame. "Jake!" Nathan screamed. Cole felt it in his stomach. Like a gut punch delivered straight to the soul. He closed his eyes just long enough to breathe once. There was no time to grieve. "Regroup. We've got hostiles incoming from the west. Flight paths compromised, reroute south, low altitude. Go dark. Now." The remaining 3 killer eggs vanished into the smoke, hugging terrain, silent and angry. Night fell, but the fires never stopped burning. In the cold sky above them, the Grawl mothership shifted. A hum started, deep and alien, like a warning bell in a forgotten language. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. The wind howled through the canyon like a banshee, tugging at rotor blades and stirring ash from the earth. Below, the jagged cliffs of central Georgia stretched like the spine of a long-dead beast, riddled with collapsed roadways and scorched husks of trees. Major Cole Stroud guided his AH-6M through the narrow pass, the aircraft hugging the terrain with inches to spare. The whine of the turbine engine was almost drowned by the thudding in his chest. Above them loomed the real monster. A Grawl support cruiser, low in orbit, had begun dropping sensor drones across the region like mechanical spores. If those drones established a web, the Grawl ground forces would sweep through with surgical precision, exterminating the remaining resistance in the southeast. NORAD's last transmission had been grim. If the drone relay wasn't disabled by nightfall, they'd lose all contact with the western defense grid. The mission was simple. Fly into the drone zone, plant 4 EMP charges along the relay path and get out. No support. No reinforcements. Just 3 men and 2 killer eggs, slipping into the lion's mouth and hoping the bastard didn't bite. "I still say this is suicide with extra steps," Nathan Linwood muttered through the comms, his voice strained but steady. "You can quit anytime, Linwood," Travis Harlan replied, dry as desert air. "Hell no. I'm just noting it for the record." Cole said nothing. His focus was locked on the terrain ahead, eyes scanning for any shimmer of Grawl activity. After Ramirez's death, the squad had grown quieter, tighter. There was no room for grief. Not yet. Only forward motion and fuel burn. They flew low, every movement precise. Travis's bird followed in tight formation, cutting shadows against the burnt rock walls. Nathan rode co-pilot now, but his presence was more than functional. He was learning fast, growing into the role with a quiet urgency that didn't go unnoticed. Their first drop zone came into view. An old hydroelectric dam, now mostly rubble, its spine cracked in 2 by Grawl bombardment. The relay drone above it hovered silently, shaped like a stingray fused with an airship, its skin a dull chrome that shimmered with data pulses. Beneath it, Grawl sentries patrolled with mechanical grace, their forms spindly and elegant in a way that made Cole's stomach turn. "Target acquired. Planting window. 90 seconds, he said, banking left. Travis surged ahead. "I've got the drop. Cover me." Cole circled as the second AH-6 lowered altitude. Nathan leaned forward, arming the EMP shell. Timing is everything, he murmured. I know, Travis said. I used to do this kind of thing with one eye closed. Cole could hear the fatigue in his voice. Travis hadn't slept more than 2 hours since Jake went down. None of them had. The EMP casing dropped like a stone and clanked into place beneath the drone. A moment passed. Then another. No alert. Package 1 planted. Moving out, Travis confirmed. Suddenly the drone flared bright blue, and the sentry spun toward the sky, screeching in frequencies that weren't meant for human ears. They know. Too late, Cole snapped. Let's go. The air filled with streaks of plasma fire. Cole jinked hard right, banking into a tight spiral as blasts lit up the sky behind him. A near miss scorched the side of his canopy. Nathan swore and returned fire with the side-mounted minigun, peppering the Grawl with armor-piercing rounds. Travis flew below the tree line, his tail rotor trailing smoke. I'm hit but stable. I can make it. They fled south, following a creek that had carved a narrow route through the cliffs. The moment they dropped below enemy sensors, the drones lost their lock. Cole exhaled, short and sharp. 1 down. 3 to go. The second site was an industrial rail yard turned into a Grawl processing hub. They arrived under the cover of cloud and dusk. The shadows cloaked them just enough to make the approach viable, though the wind had begun to pick up. Bad timing for low-altitude work. Nathan leaned toward the NAV screen. Looks like 2 drones above this one. We take one, the other might get a signal out. We don't take it, Cole said. We bait it. He outlined the plan quickly. Travis would plant the second charge while Cole and Nathan pulled the lead drone into pursuit, keeping it distracted long enough for the EMP to detonate. It was stupid, risky, dangerous, but it worked. They roared through the rail yard, dodging between twisted freight cars and broken cranes. The drone gave chase, unleashing searing bolts of energy that turned steel to slag. Cole kept the little bird low, zigzagging through the debris with wild precision while Nathan peppered their tail with return fire. When the EMP charge blew, it did so with a muted pulse of white light. The drones froze midair, then dropped like stones. Sparks and synthetic shrieks filled the night. They didn't wait to confirm. As they escaped westward toward the third site, the mood inside the cockpits grew darker. Travis wasn't responding on the secondary channel, and when they regrouped 10 minutes later near an abandoned ski lodge, it became clear why. His AH-6 was barely holding together. The tail boom had taken a full plasma hit. It was a miracle the rotor hadn't sheared off mid-flight. I can still fly, he insisted, but his voice shook. Cole pulled alongside him. You fly, you die. So what? We've got 2 more charges to drop. You can't hit 4 sites with 1 bird. Nathan leaned over. We're not leaving you. Travis chuckled once, bitter. You think this is about me? We screw this up, those drones finish building their web and the Grawl start airstriking Denver. You leave me here, I can draw fire. Buy you the time you need. No, Cole said, too fast, too forceful. I'm not asking, Travis replied. There was a long silence. The only sound was the creak of cooling metal and the distant, steady hum of the Grawl grid closing in. Finally, Cole gave a slow nod. You run a fire pattern east. Make it loud. Copy. They separated without fanfare. No goodbyes. No speeches. Just rotors chopping through wind and resolve like a scythe through wheat. As Cole and Nathan banked west toward the final relay zone, the sky behind them lit up. Travis's AH-6 danced like a hornet on fire, strafing Grawl towers and igniting sensors in explosive bursts. Plasma fire chased him like a comet's tail. He didn't call for help. He didn't scream. Then the sky went quiet. The last 2 EMP charges were planted in silence. No resistance. No reaction. Maybe the Grawl were confused. Maybe they were adapting again. Cole didn't know. Didn't care. By the time they cleared the last zone and banked north toward the rally point, the wind had shifted. A storm was rising in the west, blotting out the stars. Thunder growled like some ancient god clearing its throat. Cole looked over at Nathan. The kid's face was pale, jaw tight, hands gripping the seat harness like a lifeline. But his eyes were clear. Focused. You good? Nathan didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quiet but firm. I will be. Cole nodded. That was enough. They rode the storm into the darkness. Behind them, 4 Grawl relays lay in ruin. Ahead, a new message crackled through on a scrambled frequency. Faint, garbled, but urgent. Coordinates. Names. A final mission. It wasn't over yet. And they were still alive to fight it. The sky over Tennessee was a bruise, swollen purple and streaked with orange lightning. The Killer Egg's engine whined like a tortured animal as Major Cole Stroud pushed it past max tolerances. Every vibration rattled through the fuselage into his spine, but he didn't care. Not anymore. In the seat beside him, Nathan Linwood adjusted his helmet and glanced at the new mission briefing glowing on the small cockpit monitor. "Fort McKellar," he said, his voice stiff with disbelief. "I thought it was glassed 2 weeks ago." "That's what CENTCOM thought too," Cole muttered. "Turns out a company of Marines held the line. Now they're trapped underground. No evac, no comms. Grawl are burrowing in. So, we're flying into a siege? We're flying into a promise." Cole's fingers tightened on the cyclic. The weight of it, the same one he'd felt back in Texas when half his team was incinerated on the tarmac, pressed down on his chest. If they didn't extract the Marines, the Grawl would turn Fort McKellar into another experiment. Another graveyard. The Night Stalkers weren't in the rescue business. Not officially. But unofficially? Cole had made his choice. He would burn every last drop of fuel and fury to pull those men out. The flight path brought them in low, skimming treetops just beginning to regrow their foliage after orbital firestorms had razed most of the southeast. Rain pelted the windshield in thick, angry drops. Cole adjusted his HUD and squinted through the blur. Fort McKellar came into view like a scar on the land. The outer walls had crumbled, the upper barracks charred to ash. A single automated anti-air turret fired blindly into the sky, its IFF systems clearly fried. In the heart of the complex, a reinforced bunker door flickered with blue light, still powered barely. Nathan zoomed in. "That's got to be where they're holed up. Then that's where we land." Cole cut altitude fast, rotors kicking up a cyclone of water and dust as they touched down on a half-collapsed parade ground. The moment the skids hit the ground, Nathan popped the hatch and swept the area with his rifle. Nothing moved. No enemy units, no signs of life. And yet, Cole felt it. That stillness. The wrong kind. Like the forest right before a predator strikes. They moved fast. Through crumbling corridors, past blast doors half-welded shut, through puddles tinged with ash and oil. The bunker wasn't deep, just enough to survive the initial strikes. They found the Marines in a converted command center, sealed behind a makeshift barricade of overturned desks and shredded metal. There were 12 of them. All armed. All ragged, half-starved, wild-eyed. But alive. A bearded man with stripes on his sleeve approached them, rifle lowered but ready. "Name's Gunnery Sergeant Hale. If you're here to extract, you're either crazy or suicidal." "Both," Cole replied. "We've got 1 bird. 2 seats, maybe 4 in a pinch. That's not gonna be enough. Then we hold this ground till your friends arrive." There are no friends. Not anymore. The silence that followed was a living thing. Nathan looked between them, his expression unreadable. Then he stepped forward. "If we scavenge fuel from the down Grawl crawlers outside the wire, we could maybe power up one of their drop skiffs. Those things don't fly far, but they might make it to Huntsville." Hale's brow furrowed. "That's 30 clicks. Over Grawl territory. Better than dying in this hole," Cole said. "You've got engineers?" Hale nodded. "Two. And a mechanic who says he once hotwired an APC with a spoon. That's good enough." They moved quickly. Time was a luxury they didn't have. While Nathan coordinated with the Marines, Cole climbed back into the AH-6 and ran a perimeter scan. The Grawl wouldn't wait forever. If they were tunneling in, and all evidence said they were, then the next 30 minutes would decide everything. As if summoned by thought, the ground began to shake. Soft at first like the beat of distant drums. Then louder. More rhythmic. The signature of Grawl tunnelers, massive crustacean-like machines designed to dig and deploy troops in tight quarters. Cole gritted his teeth. "They're coming." Back at the bunker, Nathan shouted into the comms. "We've got partial power to the skiff. We need 5 more minutes." Cole launched back into the air and began a circling pattern, firing flares and short bursts from the minigun to distract the sensors. He didn't care if the Grawl saw him. He wanted them to. He wanted them to chase him instead of the fleeing humans below. The first tunneler breached with an explosion of earth and metal. Chitin-armored soldiers swarmed out, sleek and deadly. Cole angled his nose down and let the cannon do its work. The bursts tore through the lead wave, but more followed. Inside the bunker, Hale shouted over the comms. "Skiff is online. We're loading. Go." Cole snapped. "Don't wait." The skiff launched seconds later, wobbling into the sky with a trail of black smoke. The Marines crammed inside, eyes wide, holding onto one another as the alien craft jerked forward with unfamiliar gravity drives. Nathan sat at the control interface, his expression grim, hands steady. Cole banked right to draw fire as the skiff cut across the horizon. Plasma bolts lit up the air, but the shots fell short. The skiff disappeared into cloud cover. Then Cole turned back. Another tunneler emerged, twice the size of the first. It was no grunt transport, it was a Grawl command unit. A lumbering beast with an open deck where one of their war minds sat in a silver throne, its arms fused into a living console. It directed its forces with precise bursts of electromagnetic signals, guiding them like a conductor. Cole's minigun was dry. He had one Hellfire left. He climbed. Wind screamed against the canopy. Warnings flashed across every system. He shut them all off. The Warmind saw him. Raised one spindly arm. Too late. Cole fired. The Hellfire streaked downward in a beautiful, tragic arc. The explosion shattered the command unit in a burst of flame and shrapnel. The Warmind disintegrated in mid-signal, its orders cut short. But Cole didn't pull out fast enough. The shockwave slammed into his bird and sent it tumbling. Alarms screamed. The world turned over. Then everything went black. When he opened his eyes, all he could see was fire. The cockpit was a ruin. The rotors were gone. He tasted blood in his mouth. Smoke filled his lungs. But he was alive. Barely. He crawled from the wreckage, dragging his broken leg behind him. The Grawl were disoriented, scattering. Without the Warmind, they moved erratically, uncertain. In the distance, he saw the skiff flash its lights. It was returning. Not for him. But for vengeance. Cole collapsed beside the burning fuselage, blood soaking the dirt beneath him. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him again was Nathan, leaping from the skiff, rifle in hand, charging straight into the chaos. They weren't done yet. Not by a long shot. The taste of copper clung to the back of Cole's throat as consciousness clawed its way back in ragged fragments. The heat from the burning wreckage had faded, replaced by cold earth and the acrid scent of melted polymer. Pain seared through his body in waves, but he didn't cry out. He'd been trained not to. He'd learned the value of silence long ago, on battlefields where sound was a currency of death. Shapes moved in the haze, shadows flickering past the flames, purposeful and alien. The Grawl hadn't fled. They'd reorganized. Cole knew the look of a kill circle forming. He could hear the faint frequency pulses their infantry used to communicate, their ultrasonic commands slicing through the static of his helmet's damaged receiver. A rifle discharged twice in quick succession. Then again. Closer this time. Boots pounded across debris, and a moment later, Nathan was kneeling beside him, panting, blood streaked down the side of his helmet. He looked like hell. But his eyes, those were alive with fire. "You're not dying here, Major," he growled, voice steady through the chaos. "Not after all this." Cole tried to speak, but only a wet rasp came out. Nathan shoved a stim into his thigh, then another. Pain bloomed, white-hot and cleansing. Enough to let him sit up, barely. "I bought us a few minutes," Nathan said, reloading with mechanical precision. "The skiff's shielded behind the ridge. We get there, we live." Cole blinked against the blood dripping into his eyes. "You came back. You would've." They didn't waste another word. Cole slung his arm over Nathan's shoulder, each step like dragging a broken anchor through gravel. They moved through blackened mud and shattered concrete, the world around them painted in hell's palette, orange, red, smoke gray. Grawl drones zipped overhead in tight patrol arcs, but something in their behavior had changed. They moved hesitantly, their formations erratic. Cole recognized it instantly. The death of their Warmind hadn't just disrupted orders. It had severed them from their local hive logic. They were still dangerous but slower, confused. Which meant one thing: this was the moment to strike. They reached the ridge in minutes that felt like hours. Nathan pressed a code into the side of the skiff's hull, and the panel hissed open. Inside, 3 Marines from Hale's squad waited, weapons raised. "Jesus, you look like roadkill," one of them muttered, grabbing Cole and pulling him aboard. "I'll take roadkill over corpse," Cole managed to whisper. The ramp sealed shut. Nathan slid into the pilot's chair, fingers dancing across controls he'd learned in a single desperate hour. The Grawl tech groaned in protest, but the skiff lifted shakily into the air. Cole lay in the hold, teeth clenched against the pain, listening to the hull creak under gravitational stress. Through the viewport, he saw the battlefield stretch out below, a scarred monument to the stubbornness of men who refused to yield. The radio sparked to life. Hale's voice cut through the static, garbled but clear enough. "You made it out?" Nathan tapped the mic. "We've got the Major. Heading west to Huntsville now." "Good," Hale said, a rare softness in his gruff voice. We've got bad news. The Grawl aren't retreating. That cruiser we saw earlier? It's dropping an anchor node. They're setting up a permanent base of operations. Ground-to-orbit weapons. If that goes online, nothing flies through this sector again. Not us, not anyone. Cole forced himself upright. Location. Just outside Nashville. They're building it in what's left of the Titan Stadium. Real poetic. Cole's eyes narrowed. How long until it's operational? Less than 4 hours. And before you ask, no, we don't have anyone else left in range. Nathan didn't wait for orders. He was already turning the skiff. The Marines inside shifted uncomfortably, muttering between themselves, but no one voiced dissent. They all knew the truth, someone had to stop it. And the ones still breathing were the only ones left to do it. As they neared Nashville, the scale of the Grawl structure came into horrifying clarity. The stadium had been hollowed into a steel hive, bristling with antennae, pulsating towers, and a central core that spun like a gyroscope. Energy crackled across its shell, faint at first, then louder, like thunder in reverse. Cole studied the structure from the viewport, his mind clicking into tactical overdrive. We can't breach it conventionally. Not with this skiff. There's still one Hellfire loaded beneath my little bird, Nathan said, jaw set like iron. We could detach it, fly the skiff in low, drop the missile manually. It's insane, but... Cole grinned through bloody teeth. Insane is exactly our brand. They prepped in silence. Nathan rigged the Hellfire with a timed arming fuse, bypassing every failsafe he could find. The Marines gathered what munitions they had left, duct taping grenades into makeshift satchels. There was no backup. No second run. This was it. As the skiff descended toward the stadium, Grawl sentries opened fire, beams slicing through cloud cover like divine retribution. Nathan weaved between them with preternatural instinct, pushing the skiff to its limits. Alarm screamed. The hull groaned. Now! Cole shouted. The hatch dropped. Nathan kicked the Hellfire loose and the missile fell, arming mid-drop. Below, the core of the Grawl structure began to glow, bright enough to sear the eyes. Energy was building. 1 second. 2. Then the missile hit. Silence. And then... detonation. The world convulsed. The explosion ripped through the structure with a ferocity unmatched by any man-made blast. The central core cracked like an egg, and with it the entire node collapsed. Secondary detonations lit up the stadium in a series of cascading implosions. A fireball punched skyward, chasing the skiff like a rising sun. Inside, the Marines hooped and shouted, adrenaline and disbelief mingling in chaotic joy. Nathan let the controls go limp for a moment, staring out the viewport at the roiling inferno below. Cole slumped back against the wall. He couldn't feel his legs. Could barely keep his eyes open. But he smiled. They'd done it. Not because they were the best pilots or the strongest soldiers or even the smartest tacticians. They did it because they didn't stop. They didn't bow. When humanity was supposed to run, supposed to surrender, they flew. And that was why they won. As the skiff limped westward into the setting sun, Cole closed his eyes. In his mind, he saw Ramirez grinning from behind his visor. Travis giving that lopsided smirk. Jake with that calm certainty. All of them flying beside him in formation eternal. Nathan's voice came over the internal comms. Sir? Yeah. I think the Grawl know Earth isn't theirs now. Cole laughed, broken and whole all at once. Damn right they do. And the sky carried them home.